Hey everyone, welcome to today's artwork review or feedback session. And let's start with the first one. And everybody can send in their work for a review. See the description under this video on Patreon. So let's first start with this one from Fabio. And let's see. So he told me I think Hearthstone or League of Legends. You would like to make this or this character for one of those games. And I do really like that you have this action line. Only if this is metal, it wouldn't go along the action line because it's a hard surface. However, what you could do is if you make this if it's a metal, then it would have this straight shape, but these loose objects you could rotate. So this here, these parts, but this is rigid, this is hard. So this doesn't, if we're looking at it from the front view, so like this, it would be straight. Even if you would draw this character then on an action line, it's basically that this object would be straight. So, and it still, it does has these circles, but remember that the shape is still rigid. However, what you could do if you make it, maybe here, this is the part that's for the breast, and then here this other part, and this part could rotate from that part. So if you maybe make one part like this, and we have this action line, and then there's this other box that's going like this, and then here. But this stays hard. Think of this as bone structure. And yeah, I think it looks really, really great. So let me see about, I think this the construction that could use some work. So here's this breastplate that's going like this. Maybe draw it a bit like this. And then maybe that this part is separate, so this could move, this part. So this could move a bit like there. So it's a bit more flexible, and then you can use these circles and then maybe make this effect a bit like this. And then these stones are behind this here, and that we have this one. Here's the front. That's cool. I also like that we have this big hand here. Think about if you want to use 3 or 4 fingers. Maybe 3 works fine here, because you want those bulky details. Think about how it's all constructed. So here's this hand, then we have this shape, and try to draw through your shape so that you're really thinking about how it goes around. And how does this anatomy work? So here, this shoulder and the breast. Then here we have this neck. And I like that this head is turned this way and the body is turned that way. So that's really nice. So we have this part. Let me see. Maybe I would make it this a bit more around so it feels a bit more chunky. Because then this is the middle where the ring is connected, and you would see a bit of this direction. So And then you would also have some overlap there. This is cool. See. Yeah, and then here these things. I'm a bit thinking about how could we change this. So I'm thinking about how is this part connected here and here, or is this in the back? That's not. I find that a bit hard to tell. So I think. Yeah, I think it's in the back because here I see it like that. So it's all these objects feel a bit loose somehow, but don't worry about it. I think it's really great, but I think it would help if you're thinking a bit in these big shapes. So here, this is that connected to that part. Maybe we can make it a bit more separate. So like this here, maybe stick it out a bit more. Maybe do something like this here, and then you could change the shapes a bit like this here. It's, yeah, still not really happy with that, but this takes really time to fix. But what I would really would say to you is try to think about how is this made in simple shapes and constructed. So really think of it as a 3D model, especially if it's for something like League of Legends, where all these characters need to be made in 3D as well. Then it always needs those kinds of shapes that need to be built with. So maybe you can, and maybe you can try to make a front view as well. And then a side view to figure out all those shapes. Because now I find it a bit hard to tell where is this part connected to, and so on. And if you really work on the construction, that this is really, for example, this is this really side plane, and it makes it also easier to shade. For example, if the light is coming from this, then you know that this part's dark, etc. And now sometimes this hand seems a bit too loose from this forearm, and etc. And this, how this thing is connected to this arm. This feels really thin. It feels almost like this, and I have a feeling that this arm should be a bit thicker to really hold this ring. Maybe it can be all a bit more chunky. But great work, man. Just, yeah, keep working on that and think about the construction, how this character is built. So let's move on to Christy. So let's look at this. Let's look at the composition. So if this is your canvas, I'm wondering, why is there so much blank space here? So let's take this drawing and let's make there this rule of 3. So here, let's divide it here. So think a bit about composition. So this could work, this composition. So it maybe, yeah, I know maybe something that could work. So maybe take these characters, make them something like this here, or something like this. And then we have these two boys at this point. So still thinking about how could we make this work. Maybe this table is a bit too big, or maybe we can. Maybe you could even add some people here. Maybe here this person is looking at the product. And he's already sticking up his thumb. Maybe she could make a wink or something. And she's putting up her thumb while holding this cup. I don't know, that you make this connection. I really like this. So maybe you can put this arm a bit up or something. So it's a bit more active. So like that. But what I would like is that you have these characters that creates this kind of flow. I think that's really nice there. And then maybe we could use this television screen, maybe like this. So I think in this case, an symmetry is fine, especially if you make these posters are a little bit different. So that breaks the symmetry, that makes it that's not too much. But then you can make this, maybe this television screen even bigger. And then that maybe you can make some illustration or the product is on this screen so you know what's about. But I think overall it looks really nice. So one thing I would say, and then we can look at this one again, is the perspective. So I don't know, let's create some perspective guides here. So here this cross. So something like this, merge, duplicate, put it here, duplicate, put it here, merge them together. And so this is a 1-point perspective, and I think it's cool if all these lines get together around their heads. So somewhere like this. Let's take a different color. So I think this table could use this perspective. And it also helps aiming the attention to those characters there. Then you still can draw these characters here. Maybe you can make these. Maybe we can also play around with that. We put this character a bit more here. So maybe it's a bit too big, but that we're looking a little bit at this back of the head here. And this woman is more at this point and he is more here. And maybe we can put those. So not everything has to have to need the same perspective. We can use these staples of paper, maybe here. And maybe this map is also somewhere here. So I think that creates a little bit more of an interesting composition. Maybe you can even here draw this cup of coffee like this here as well. So here use these perspective things to point at them. And then also use that for the ceiling here and the floor. And also think about the perspective of these characters' heads. So if you would make a box around this character's head, so like this. So, but think about the perspective. Think it needs to be a one-point perspective, and I think, let's see, if you follow these lines, I think it's the perspective is fine, but I think it's just interesting if those. Yeah, if you maybe put it a bit higher, so they're aimed here. So this perspective point is aimed at this horizon. And then it's also here again, this is exactly in the middle. And a lot of times you want to avoid it. I think it's more interesting if you put it here. But great work, Christy, and great to see you. You're back. Thanks. So let's look at this cool character from Heather. So let me see. So I really like this style. So, and I think the construction is also really great. So let's maybe draw on top of it. So even if you're working with this style, I think it's really important to use a construction. So here, I like that this, you only see their lips, their lower lips. I really like these glasses. So here and here, this all seems fine. So maybe put this eye also here and here. A lot of times it feels really cool really good if you put those eyes at, yeah. No, you did that. If you do this, then it feels so a lot of tension, but if you put them in a corner, it feels more relaxed. So think about how's this hair, this shape, going around. So I think I also feel that this maybe these shapes, you could exaggerate those shapes, I think, a little bit. Maybe you can, because you're using that for the eyebrows, maybe you could use these kinds of lines. It doesn't have to use them everywhere. Maybe a small shape, and you're doing that, big shape, and etc. So that's really great. So then she has this neck here and her torso. Then here, their hips. So think about her anatomy, and that's especially important when you also have to draw her in other poses. For example, if you're going to make a comic out of it. So these hand constructions are really nice. You could also consider using, especially for style like this, to use maybe 3 fingers and their thumb. But that's, yeah, it's always a personal choice. But in a lot of cartoons, you see that they're using 3 fingers plus a thumb. So here, maybe just try to think about how is he holding this. The fingers need space to go around this object. So here, maybe keep the clothing really simple, especially if you're working in this kind of style. So maybe something like this. Here. So think about how the shape's going around these legs. So here, watch out for all these lines coming together there. So maybe I would also put this one a bit lower. There's a bit more space for the hand and for this part. Maybe make this a little bit thicker. I have a feeling that this style works really great if you're using a bit of thick shapes. Here, for example, these socks, I would maybe put them just a little bit higher. And think about, so if this is the perspective, and here's, I think here somewhere here's the horizon line, then maybe also use that perspective here for these feet. They're standing here so that you're using this angle instead of this. Because then here's the ground. I really think about how is this constructed, how is there these shoelaces going around these shapes. But great work. I would really recommend also try to think in shapes as if it's a 3D model. And even if it's a flat style, you still have to think about how are these fingers going around and how is this jacket going around her neck, etc. But I really like the character. Great work. So keep it up. So Edmund, you also sent me this drawing last week, and you asked how to figure out the fence now, because I didn't use it. But if you're making this square in perspective, you can figure out this fan. So for example, if we would make an top view of the fan, so something like here, then I would start with a box, and inside this box you can draw this circle, so something like this, and then we could draw the fan here. And basically, I can also just take this block, and we could, so if we make this square here in perspective, so here then this perspective, and so on with those perspective guides, and then you draw this cross inside here, and then you're going to put these lines in the middle, the same steps as I did here. Then you can draw in this fan following those same guides like this here. So it would look a bit like this here in this perspective. So that's how I would draw a fan in perspective. What you can even do, for example, if you're having this box here, you can take this one, and in Photoshop you could use, and I think also in other programs you can use the transform tool to put it in perspective, so that you have this fan in this perspective. So great work, Edmund. So let's look at this from Stephen. So in this drawing, there's no perspective, and it's totally fine. This is often used for industrial design, and it gives a really interesting look. So I think this looks really fine. And if you want to paint this, you could add, so you asked, I think you asked about how to paint something like this. You could use gradients. So, and I would use, yeah, if I would make these things, I would make all these layers on separate, or all these shapes on separate layers, and then I will press this and take the gradient tool, and for example, add some lightning here. So where's the light coming from? So I think I would make lightning from this point, so like this. So these gradients would come from this point. So maybe change a bit of different color. Is this cool color? Yeah, I think this could be a cool color. Then we have that here, maybe Also shape here. So I would use this this gradient tool to add that. So maybe you want some at some places you want some highlights like this. But I think it's really good to look at some examples if you're making here. Oh, this a bit. So of course, it would make it a bit more neatly if it was a final illustration. And this really quickly, but this is basically the way I would do it. So these surfaces are smooth. Should be. Something like this here. So just try it out, and I think I should work a bit more on these parts. Where's this? So here then these shoots and highlights, and you can also give these edges things. It just depends on, and it always takes a bit of time to paint like this. Here, give some things a highlight, maybe some drop shadows. Also, if the light's coming from here, then the shadow should be longer here, something like that. So yeah, try adding gradients. Try adding gradients on those shapes, and probably you have all these layers on separate layers. And try this icon too, so you can paint inside those shapes. But great work, Stephen. Let's look at this one from GR or Junior. I don't know what's your name. Let's call you GR. So this drawing looks really great. And here, let's take this. So I can really, yeah, there's this nice line. So maybe you can even make this, I think it's cool to make this drawing really stylistic. Let's try. So here we have this one line. And then here we have, maybe this side is more the complex side. So maybe going around here, here. I wouldn't add this line like this, but more like this. Maybe make this a bit shorter. And watch out for these corners, and especially here, all these lines getting together. So here this hand is going in front, and then we have the shoulder, and use this nice curve here. Then here, so now this is, and I don't like that when these lines are like this. Same, so maybe using a straight line here, or maybe making a line like this here. I think that could work. I don't know, just playing around a bit with something cool. And I'm trying to make this stylized, and I don't know if this is something you like. So tomorrow I'll be uploading an interview with Alan, or Damani is his real name. Alan is his Instagram name. But he really draws in a nice stylistic way. And I think that would be really interesting for you. So think about the perspective of this hand. I think you should be looking a bit more up on it. And look out for, give these eyes a little bit space. And this head. So watch out. It feels so a bit cluttered. So maybe put these eyes here. I think that also works better. Maybe give this head a bit more breathing space. Maybe use a small shape, big shape, and a medium shape. For example, for the hair, small shape, and then here. So try to keep it simple. Also try to think beneath this about the construction. Also here, these how are these legs going? So like this, and here. So how are these shoes constructed? And then maybe using a straight line here against a curved line, straight against curved. So great work, GR. So let's look at this drawing from GR, from Sarah. So this is a cool perspective. This is really cool that this hand is so big. This looks great. Maybe this finger, this one looks a bit almost broken a bit. So you could just add some more space here. And that this is here. So yeah, you did a great job on those fingers, because indeed, if we put that here, this is really correct. So great work on that. So maybe here this one feels, could be a bit more like this. But great work. So maybe you can add some line here. And then we have this at here. Maybe you could add a bit more energy by making this body going a bit more this direction. So here, so that could make it a bit more dynamic if you put the body like that. And then maybe make this arm going in this direction, so that you really have this foreshortening, that you're using these shapes. But great work, Sarah. I really like the 3D effect and the energy in it. And try using this. So what you did here with this arm, also try to use it here, this foreshortening. So awesome work. So Frank, awesome drawing. Really like these cartoony drawings. So let's see what we could do to improve on this drawing. So I think, what is he doing? He's holding up this cheese. So maybe we could change this a little bit. So here, looking at this cheese here. So maybe his action pose, he holding up this arm like this. So you're trying to tell a story with your drawing, and you want to make it as strong as possible. So maybe here, making him this fist up. So yeah, like this. Just holding his fist up or something. Breast to the front. Maybe here this leg is stretched. So we get this energy like this. And then maybe this leg is on a rock or something. So like this. And then we can use his tail like this. So, and now I think this could be even stronger. But the point I want to make is that you have this line that's going like this, and he's looking at this. Then here this. So you want to have a bit of energy in this this pose, and it tells more a story, that he's proud that he got this cheese. Maybe you can draw a mouse trap where he got the cheese from, and then it's a real victory that he got this. So yeah, try to use that action line. And also you're already using construction, so that's great, but try to combine it with energy and action line. Great work, Frank. So look, Stefan, so this cool, beautiful drawing. You're really good at finishing those drawings. So I think maybe, and that's quite difficult, you're already such a professional artist, that maybe we can add some. So now it all feels like this. And I think it's interesting if we make a drawing that has more depth in it, like this. How could we do that? I think, let's turn this off, so that maybe she's holding the phone like this, so that you're using this for shortening. And maybe something, and that also here, so I want to have a bit of this perspective in it, and that this character is maybe here. I don't know, so maybe something like this. So this could be, oh, of course you have these eyes, but I hope you get what I mean, is that you're using this depth in it, so that she's on this rock, and that you get this perspective. And then also maybe you can even, here that you have, then if you draw this here, maybe you can use some foreground elements here, but that you, yeah, that they're that you have this perspective, and you're already doing that a little bit like this, but maybe you could push that more. Maybe you can try to experiment more with that composition, and maybe exaggerate even more than I'm doing here. But that's yeah, the thing that I was thinking of first when I seen this. But it also works, Stefan. So let's look at this one from Vivi. This is a great drawing for children book, and it's really stylistic. So don't want to say, yeah. So that's, I think you really made some cool choices. So, but still, I think you can use some anatomy rules for where's the neck coming from. The neck's a bit, I think, a bit more here. And then how could we make this? So let me think a bit. So she's looking through this glass here. Then here, this body is going like this. So maybe this could be a bit more stretched or something, so that she's really flying. So like this. So of course there could be a bit of a curve. Then maybe here. I like that his hair is going like this here. So, but still, I think you could work a bit on the construction. That how's this neck and how's this shirt going around this neck? How's this going here around, and how's this going here or here? So unless it's your style, you want to go. But if you're seeing this, the bottom of the feet here, then I also think this pants should go open like this. It also makes it a bit weird, but then maybe this part should look like this here. So try to think about how's this, yeah, how's it all constructed. So try to think about the construction of the character. Try to build it with basic shapes without, and that's the hard part, without getting too stiff, but then you're using the line of action 4 to make it, to keep the energy in it. So here maybe So I would build these characters with these kind of shapes. Then again, this interview with Elam is really, I think, is really interesting, and I will post it tomorrow. And he's really great with making both construction, but also with really fluid drawings with a lot of energy. So Dana, great, great drawing, and great that you're using these construction lines. So let me see. So still try to think about if you're adding these construction lines, for example, with these eyes, try to think about how, just keep practicing this, but try to think about how is this mouth. So if this is his skull, like this, then this would be his jaw, like this. So his nose is here, so this mouth goes a bit like this. I think this shape could look a bit different. So maybe you can check out some, I think you have my anatomy of my expression ebook. Maybe you can study some of those drawings in it and look at the construction and practice that. So it's really good for you to keep practicing this construction. And I think I really see progression with that. And it's totally normal that it takes time to learn that. But it feels a bit like, I see you're using construction, but these eyes don't, here, this mouth and these eye lines, it feels so separate and should be a bit more aligned to each other. So I would make this cheek simpler as well. So give this head shapes. So maybe you can study those expressions from the ebook about drawing expressions. It's great work, Dana. Keep practicing this, and I think you can be a bit more sketchier and loose with your sketches. So don't try to make your drawings too clean for now. Try to be rough. Maybe try to don't spend too much time on the drawing, but make something in a couple of seconds. Again, that tomorrow, that interview I'm posting, that's really interesting because he learned to draw by making drawings in 30 seconds, and that really forced him to be quick and be loose. But great work, Dana. I think main thing is think of your construction and try to be a bit more loose while you're drawing. So, Sion, so this is a great drawing. So let's see. And the only thing is that it's really straight. So maybe adding here this, I think if we do this, maybe it could add some movement, this action line, just a little bit. So here, I think you're already doing it, but maybe you can push it a little bit more, and that we have this leg making this angle, and then this leg as this. And try to think of the construction of this, of the feet. I think you did a great job already with that. And also, if you're using these overlapping lines, I think maybe make them so here. So try to also draw beneath. So here, if this insert back, and then here this is this leg. Then here you see this line there, and here this is stretched, and this going like this. So also with this dress, so I really like that it's going like this here. Maybe you can make it a bit more simple. So it's going here around. So keep it maybe really simple, this dress. So that you hear. So I will be making, I think I will be making eventually, yeah, next month I will be drawing again backgrounds. But I'm thinking about the month after that to start making a lot of tutorials about clothing. But keep it simple. So I think this, you could maybe use this S shape here for this dress. Maybe interesting. Or maybe even if this is the simple side, and draw this dress. So like this, because he's moving this way. And if we're moving this way, for example, we have this tube, and we're putting this tube clothing, then you would have something like this with the clothing. So if you're waving a flag, you also have that. Try to think of that. But great work, Sian. Try to think about the action line a bit more. And simple, complex. And then again, it's really interesting to see the tomorrow's interview from Damani. He's really great at this. So thanks everyone for the drawings you sent, and you can send me again drawing for next week video session. Thanks everyone. Bye.